Hey, what's up? Hello, everyone. Welcome. Let me just set up my background and the live goal. Thank you for being here. Please just double tap the screen. It means a lot. Um, every tap counts. The more taps, the more people that TikTok sends in here. And that's what we want most of all, just people in here listening in. I'm incredibly grateful for anyone's time and attention. It's a very, very difficult thing to get a hold of these days, but I think it's an important topic. I think it's much more important than most people realize. So please stick around. Usually we've got a few hundred people in here. It goes off, the comment sections kick in the whole time. Usually we get through in a couple of hours, we'll usually get through 4, 5, 6 different guests, and we'll have some really good conversations. I don't kick people. I don't mute people. Everyone's welcome. I think it's a very important conversation to have. So thank you for being here. While we get some more people in here, please just double tap if you're in here already. It's really going to help get more people in here. But while we're still waiting for some people, actually, first of all, let me just fix up my brightness here. Hey, there we go. It's a bit better. I'm just going to read a little bit to start with today. Let's see how this goes. So please just double tap. Just kick back, relax for a moment. You've not missed anything. I've literally just started the live stream up. You've not missed a thing. I just want to read something. Just, a little bit of food for thought, so to speak. Thank you so much for tapping. The more you double tap, the more people are going to get sent in here. That's what we would need right now. Thanks so much. I'm just going to read from one of my favorite books of all time. I'm very, very grateful to have gotten onto this one when I was a kid. This one is called 50 Ideas You Really Need to Know About Philosophy. Wow. So cool. Such nerdy garbage. Hey, thank you, man. Such deeply, deeply sweaty, nerdy stuff, but important and helpful and worth thinking about, in my opinion. So without any further ado, let me read to you what it is that this book has to say on being a brain in a vat. The author, good question. The author is Ben Dupree. The author is Ben Dupree. All right. The brain in a vat. Imagine that a human being has been subjected to an operation by an evil scientist. The person's brain has been removed from the body and placed in a vat of nutrients which keeps the brain alive. The nerve endings have been connected to a super scientific computer which causes the person to have the illusion that everything is perfectly normal. There seem to be people, objects, the sky, etc. But really, all the person is experiencing is the result of electronic impulses traveling from the computer to the nerve endings. All right. I hope I've set the scene. I hope you can see where this is going as well. You might have even heard of this thought experiment before, but if you haven't, it's worth hearing the whole thing. It's a nightmare scenario, the stuff of science fiction. Perhaps, but of course, that's exactly what you would say if you were a brain in a vat. Your brain may be in a vat rather than in a skull. But your every experience is exactly as it would have been if you were living as a real body in a real world. The world around you, your chair, the book in your hands, well, that's this one right here, your hands themselves are all part of the illusion. Just thoughts and sensations fed into your disembodied brain by the scientist's super powerful computer. You probably don't believe you are a brain floating in a vat. Most philosophers probably don't believe that their brain's in vats. But you don't have to believe it. You only have to admit that you can't be certain that you're not. The problem is that if you do happen to be a brain in a vat, and you can't just rule the possibility out, then all the things that you think you know about the world will be false. And if that's possible, you don't really know anything at all. The mere possibility appears to undermine our claims to knowledge about the external world. So, is there any escape from the vat? Right. So, it goes on for another 2 pages, but I hope that you can understand what I'm trying to get at there, right? The brain in a vat thought experiment is very important. I think it's a really important one to spend a little time thinking about, especially if you are religious. You can't know that the religion that you believe in is correct. You can only believe that it's correct. That's an important thing to start thinking about. And if you can acknowledge this, then you've taken a pretty big step in what I would consider to be the right direction. And if it's true for you, and you can accept that you can't actually know that your religion is correct, you can only believe it, then the same also applies to everybody else's religion. No one else can know that their religion is correct either. They can only ever believe it just as strongly as you do. The big problem is that no religion has sufficient evidence to prove conclusively that it's the only correct religion. So all religions are in the same boat here. This is an important thing for religious people to think about. I could read the rest of that passage, but I might save it for another time. I just thought it might be worth starting out that way, just to maybe see who this draws in, see what happens. Comment section going off right now. I love this. This is great. Thank you everyone for being here so far. Lots of people saying that I'm clueless and that Jesus is the one and only way. Maybe you weren't here early enough and you didn't hear what I just said. It might be true that Jesus is the only way. Is it likely though? No, it is not likely. Brad is the way. Yes, Brad is the way. Brad bless. All glory be to Brad in the highest. Hallelujah. Bradley be your name. Let's have a look here. We've got someone in the queue. Chef Clay, let's have it. Now, please just keep double tapping. Thank you so much for what we've got so far. To anyone in here right now, please stick around. I'm very grateful for your time. Chef Clay, can you hear me?
Yeah, how's it going, my man?
Amazing. Hey, look, really well. Thank you so much for asking. I do just want to just impress upon you before we get to it. I'm very, very grateful for your time. I see no proof of an afterlife. I think this is it. So thank you for sharing your most valuable commodity with us, man. Thank you so much. Which God do you believe in?
Allah.
Allah. And what is that?
Huh? What did you
Why?
say? I didn't hear you.
Why is that?
Oh, I am convinced that Allah is the creator of the universe, through revelation, to the
Revelation.
Prophet Muhammad.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
What kind of revelation is that?
the Quran. Hey, you're breaking up. I don't know if that's me or you, but you're like kind of skippy. But the Quran.
Oh, okay. Okay, so you think that the Quran is sufficient evidence to prove that Islam is the one and only correct religion of the thousands of options?
Yeah, the Quran, the life of the Prophet, the history,
Got,
from then till now. Yep.
got you. Got you. So what about the Quran makes you think that Islam is the only potential true religion?
Okay, so when you say like so I say it's the only true religion as it's the one that God meant for all humans to follow as of now. But I believe there is truths in other religions. I believe because in Islam we believe God sent prophets and messengers to all nations. You know what I'm saying? That's why there's always a little bit of
Oh, no, no.
similarity.
I'll ask again just to clarify. What is it about the Quran that is so compelling to you?
Uh,
Specifically,
as
the Quran. What is it in the Quran that's so convincing?
to me, it's the most comprehensive and coherent
Comprehensive,
worldview.
right?
Yeah.
Coherent. Okay, cool. In what way do you think that the Quran is the most comprehensive, what, most comprehensive book, most comprehensive
Uh,
religious text, most
yeah, yeah.
comprehensive poem? What do you
So,
think?
it's for what it claims to be. It claims to be a revelation from the Creator
Hmm.
to like basically answer the questions that humans will not be able to answer, like where do we come from, why are we here, what happens when we die, those types of questions. It gives like
Got
a
you.
yeah.
So what kind of answer do you think that the Quran gives us that no other method of ascertaining truth about the universe can give us?
That we were created for a purpose, and that every single thing we do, we will be held to account for. So it's
Right,
better
but
to
like what does it say about that though? You know what I mean? Like what does it say that is unique and coherent about that?
so so the Quran number one is tells us that I can't like access anything because I'm playing UFC, but just from my memory, so the Quran tells us that God created everything. Obviously, every book tells us that, but it's the reasoning He created us. Like for example, like the Adam and Eve story in the Bible, there's like it doesn't really answer any questions of why we're created. As opposed to the Quran, it states that we're created, given the option to for free will, so we can decide to believe or not believe, or do good or not do good, and there's consequences for those choices. You understand what I'm saying? Does that make sense what you said?
I think I understand why you just brought up what you brought up. I don't think that it really fully answers the question, but that's okay. Why do you think that a book from, 1400 years ago seeing something about why we're here is particularly reliable?
It's I believe it's timeless. It resonates from that time till now.
Why do you believe
Anyone's
this?
time soon. It like the information in it is like it's like you could use it even now. Like right now, if I tell you, for example, what is your purpose of like existence? And has anybody in the last like 1400 years or no? Has anybody in the history of humanity, like on a large scale, believed what you believe?
It depends. We also don't know what the
Like,
future looks like. It might be that in the future, many, many people share a similar opinion on meaning and purpose to what I do. Uh,
has that?
it certainly doesn't mean that I'm correct or that you're correct or that anyone else is inherently correct. These are ultimately opinions at the end of the day, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
exactly, can you tell us exactly what it is that the Quran says about meaning and purpose that makes you think that it's absolutely correct and nothing else is?
Yeah, yeah. At the end of the day, it's a faith. You know what I'm saying? So like, um, you have to be
Okay.
convinced of it yourself. But I believe the Quran, when it speaks about God, who He is, why He created us, how He describes Himself, things like that, it resonates with me.
Okay, so in a personal, like subjective sense, you feel as though it's accurate.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, so if you had somebody else come to you and provide essentially the same standard of evidence for a different religion, so basically they feel as though their text is accurate, can't prove that it is, they just feel like it is. Would you
well, it
say,
depends.
yeah, no,
It
that's fair
depends.
enough. Your religion must be correct then? Would you accept
No,
that
no.
standard of evidence from somebody else?
Well, it depends who it is. Like you, for example, you don't believe in a creator, so it's a whole different conversation. But if somebody believed in a God, then I easier to convince them that that God that created us is the one that sent the Quran. But like, you don't believe in God, so like
That's not really what I asked though. What I asked was that if somebody else came to you with the same standard of evidence as you're providing us, would you consider that to be sufficient evidence to then convert to their religion?
no, no, no. I'm not trying to convert you though, but no,
No, no, I'm not asking you I'm not saying that you are trying to convert me. I'm asking you if
no, no, no. I
somebody
don't think
else
so.
from a different religion came up to you with the same standard of evidence that you're trying to give to me, would you think
No,
that
no,
that was sufficient evidence to prove their religion was correct?
no, it wouldn't be.
Okay, so why should we accept it from you?
That's what I'm saying. Everybody's different. So like first you have to believe in a creator before I can convince you that the God of Islam is that creator. You understand what I'm saying to you? That makes
I don't
sense?
think that that follows at all. I think that there are people who convert to and from Islam into and out of all kinds of religions. So I don't think that that makes sense.
I don't know. Like me personally, I just don't know. Like, if you don't believe in a God, I don't know how to convince you. You know what I'm saying? Like, God has to reveal it to you. But if you
So you
believe in a
don't you
God,
don't think you don't think you have any evidence then, after all?
not anything, not anything I tell you, you'll just like, uh, you just be like, oh, that's not sufficient. Like, what do you consider evidence? Like, what would you consider like evidence?
Sure, sure. Look, I'm totally willing to leave that up to your God, right? I mean,
Yeah,
if you're a Muslim, then you believe in Allah, right? And you think that Allah is all powerful and all knowing, correct so far?
yeah.
Yeah, right. So if that's true, again, which we can't prove, but if that's true, then Allah knows what it would take to convince me. Also correct so far?
Sure.
Sure. So I'm open to Allah presenting me with whatever evidence it is that they know I will need to see. In fact, I'll say it right now. I'll say, Allah, if you are real, I am open to whatever evidence it is that you know I will need, even if I don't know what that evidence will be. Maybe it's I need to see a vision right now, or maybe you need to strike me with a lightning bolt right now. Or perhaps you need to rearrange the letters in my prompt so that they say something else. Um, in fact, you know what? How about I give you like a 5 second countdown and you can show me what it is that you know I need to see to believe in you. And then, well, there it is. I'll believe in you. Let's go. I'll give you 5 seconds, Allah.
Uh,
Five, four, three, two, one, zero. Okay, I've got to be honest with you. I've not received anything. So at this point, I still don't really have any reason to believe that there is a God that's going to respond to the name Allah, that knows what it is that I need to experience. Um, so why else do you think I should believe that your God exists?
yeah, that's the thing, bro. In Islam, we believe like God, when created everybody, destined some people to, believe, some people not to believe, and those
Oh,
choices
okay.
up to Him. Yeah, you understand?
Yeah, I've heard this before too, that Allah has ultimately already decided who will and won't believe that He's real, right? I mean,
Yeah,
I've read the
yeah,
Quran, and that's what I interpreted from the Quran too. Do you think that that is at all fair?
yeah. And God can't do anything unfair. You understand what
Okay,
I'm
so
saying? By
you
definition.
think it's entirely fair to condemn people before they're even born to an eternity of suffering in Jahannam,
It's not necessary.
whilst also predetermining people for reward in Jannah, and not really actually giving anyone any mechanism by which they can actually earn something outside of what they've already been predetermined into. You think that's fair?
So, I mean, to an extent, like the way your wording is not exactly how it works. Like, God
Well, that's
knows
what the
what He wants
Quran
you.
says. So, I mean, if you think that's not how it works, then you disagree with the Quran.
No, so this is how it works. So God, before He creates you, He knows the decisions you're going to make. And I
Yes.
guess, yeah, you're right. You're right. So yeah, if He wills good for you, everything that's like believing in Him, doing good will be easy for you. And if not, the opposite is true. So yeah, you're right. You're actually right. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, like, in your personal opinion, do you think that that's fair?
Yeah, because we're destined to that because God already knows what we're going to do. You understand what I'm
No,
saying?
I'm just to clarify, given that according to the Quran at least, which again we can't prove is real or accurate rather, uh, but according to the Quran, Allah has already predetermined that hundreds of millions of people will be condemned to eternal suffering in Jahannam, and there's nothing that they can do about it. You think that that's acceptable? You think that's a fair way to set this system up?
Yeah, so it's not whether it's fair or not in our opinion. I mean, it's just
It
the
is.
reality of
That's
the.
the question I'm asking you
Yeah,
personally. Do you think
it's
that's
a
fair?
yes, it's just the reality of the situation. Like it's
No,
fair
that's
because
not the
God knows
question I
everything.
asked you. That's not the question I asked you. Do you think that's fair?
In my opinion, not God can't do anything like unfair. It's just reality. You know
So
what I'm
you
saying? Like
think
for
that is
some,
fair? You think
yeah,
that is fair then? In your opinion, that's
yeah.
fair?
For God, yeah, it is possible for him to do something unfair. Yeah,
You think it's fair to predetermine hundreds of millions of people to eternal damnation?
it's not like it's not pretty. Like he knows it's our decisions that do it. He just knows what we're gonna do. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, to anyone in here right now, I encourage you to read the Quran. It's a hard read because it's pretty repetitive and pretty boring, but I highly recommend it. The Quran describes a God that picks and chooses before we're even born who it is will be able to believe that he's real and who won't, and then condemns them or rewards them on that basis. Uh, if anyone in here thinks that's fair, I just want you to know that I really strongly disagree with you, and I think that you've been indoctrinated into accepting someone telling you that you deserve hell if God decides so. Chef Clay, do you think that I deserve eternal damnation because I can't help the fact that I don't believe Allah is real?
Well, I don't know about like I don't even think I deserve paradise per se myself. So I don't know. Like everybody's different. It's not my. It's not my.
Do you think, well, is he here? I think we might have lost him.
My bad. Not my phone.
Do you think that
Trying to.
my daughter, who is almost certainly not going to become a Muslim, especially because I'm going to teach her about what Islam teaches and teach her to be highly critical of it, do you think that my daughter would ever deserve to be condemned for eternity to Jahannam?
That's what I'm saying. It's not. It's not my decision. I don't think.
No,
I
I'm
think
not
whoever.
asking you. I'm not asking you whether it's your decision as to
Not
whether or
my.
not my daughter goes to Jahannam. I'm asking you whether you think it's fair that she could be condemned to an eternity of punishment and suffering. Do you think that's
Yeah.
fair?
So yeah. So if somebody knows about God, denies him or denies his sign, then yeah. Like for example, you're not. It's not like
That's
you're
not.
like
That doesn't make sense, mate. Because no one can know that a God is real. People can
okay.
believe that a God is real,
Okay.
but no one
So
can
did
know
you?
this, mate.
Okay. So did you create yourself,
No, my
or were
parents
you
created
created?
me.
Okay. And then were they? Did they create themselves, or were they
No, their
created?
grandparents created them. Sorry,
Okay.
my
Keep
grandparents
following.
created them, rather. Their parents, yeah.
Keep following that line, and then did they create themselves?
Yeah, so
Like
now we're
keep
talking
following
about
it.
now we're talking about the process of evolution and eventually abiogenesis, correct?
Sure.
Sure, yeah. I've got no good reason not to believe that that's the most likely answer as to how it is that life on Earth came to be the way that we currently observe it to be.
Cool.
There's no,
So it's
there's no,
either.
there's no reason to believe, given all the evidence that we have, that that's not the most likely answer to the question. Why should I ignore the mountains of terrific evidence that support evolution and abiogenesis in
So
favor
it come.
of a book that was written 1400 years ago by people who didn't even know that the world was round?
So the it comes down to this, in my opinion. Either we created ourselves, or we were created. It's just one of the
No,
two. And you believe we
no,
created
that's not true.
ourselves.
That's called a
Okay.
false dichotomy. There are not only two
Okay.
options here. There's no need
Okay.
for a creator at all. There are entirely natural processes which can be held responsible for what we understand is most likely to have caused life on Earth to emerge. That we
Okay.
don't have to
So
we
where
don't
did
have to jump to the conclusion that there was a creator that deliberately decided to make everything. That's just not
okay.
true.
So where did this matter? Where did this how did this matter come to form? How did this matter come to existence for it to like
Yeah, cool.
evolve?
Yeah, good. These are great questions. So, what we can show repeatedly and predictably and thoroughly in laboratory conditions that replicate early Earth's conditions is that simple materials, simple matter, given enough time and the right context, begins self-replicating in a simple way. You give it enough time, it begins to self-replicate in a more complex way. You give it enough time, it only gets more and more complex. It's fascinating. And we literally are watching it happen in front of our eyes. We can even intervene in the process. It's called selective breeding. You know, this
Oh,
is
okay.
supported by all the physical evidence that we have. So why would I ignore all of the physical evidence in favor of this book that is not consistent with reality? It also says
Very,
things like it also says things like Muhammad split the moon in half, which we have no verification for. It also says
very,
things like, no, there is no verification for that. The only potential verification you could consider is a Turkish king at the time who has just as much reason to participate in the lie, to manipulate the people, as Muhammad did when he was first telling people that he split the moon in half. There's no good reason to believe that at all. It also
very
says
interesting.
things like someone saw the sun set in a muddy puddle. It says things like milk comes from a cow's stomach rather than its udder. It says things
Oh,
like
that's the
it's
Bible.
ridiculous, man.
Quran doesn't
This
say
book
that.
is not this is not an impressive book. This was written by Middle Eastern tribes people 1400 years
Very,
ago.
very good. And we'll talk about that. But you didn't answer my question. Where did the matter come from?
Oh, the matter? Sure. Well, as
Yeah.
far as we can tell, all of the material that we observe in this universe at one point was in a radiation state because it was vibrating much faster, it was much hotter, everything was much closer and denser. As everything expanded away from itself over time, it cooled and coalesced into matter. Subatomic particles at first, and eventually these subatomic particles, again, under the forces of the strong and weak electromagnetic force, or nuclear force rather, and electromagnetism, these subatomic particles, again, they coalesced and created the first atoms. And under the same natural forces, these first atoms began to, under gravity, attract each other. And over time, this all led to the formation of stars.
Okay.
And from the
So
pressure, the intense pressure and heat at the core of these stars, materials such as
just
helium and other smaller atoms were ejected out into the universe. And by way of the same natural forces again, they began coalescing, creating all kinds of different ionic and covalent bonds and undergoing fission and fusion and forming larger
okay.
and larger atoms over time. You give it
Just so we
enough
don't get
time, and all of this is entirely reasonable. And in fact, we still see it happening in very early stages of some of the solar systems that we can see out there.
cool. So when you say like my question was, and we don't have to get too far into it if you don't want to, but the matter itself, because you said everything got closer together and heated up. That's matter that's happening too. So where did
No, no,
this
no.
matter come from?
It didn't get closer and heated up. It was much closer together and it was much hotter and it was expanding away from itself. It got further apart from itself and it got much cooler. We commonly refer to this as the Big Bang. The Big Bang is not even a particularly good term for it. It's probably better to refer to it as the Big Expansion.
Okay. When you say it, that it is matter. So where did that it come from?
Yeah, well, we don't know for sure, you know. Some people believe that it was a god. Some people believe that it was maybe a few gods. Some people believe that it might have simply been a fluctuation in a quantum field that exists beyond the observable limits of this particular universe. Some people believe that this universe might lie at the center of a much larger black hole, and this is all happening in the singularity of some other uh, black hole-like entity or event. We just don't
Cool.
know. We have no idea. We've got zero data about what's going on and what's true about the environment that is external and prior to this universe. We have no real idea.
Cool. So me, I personally, just me personally, I believe that that thing that we don't know, we have no data for, in your opinion, is God. That's what created everything, and that everything
Yeah,
that
sure.
happened after that was creation on purpose. But then I wanted to talk to you about something you said about the Quran being written by desert tribes people in the seventh century.
It
So
was written
my
down by scribes that would fit
sure,
that description. Yeah,
sure. So my question to you is: do you think that the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, did he lie, or was he crazy?
we could have done both.
No, you can't lie and be crazy. Like if you're crazy, I mean,
Yes, you
like,
can.
did he? No, did he
You can
think
you
that
can
he?
be you can be mentally ill and also be capable of lying as well. He could have
Not in
been
this
either.
situation.
He could have been either. He could have been both.
Here's what I mean.
He might also have literally believed the things that he was saying, and maybe someone else told him the lies and he just passed them on. We have no idea. We don't
Yeah.
know for
So
sure. But we don't have good
being
reason to believe that the things that he's said were actually accurate about reality.
cool. So being crazy means that you hear an angel, but there's no angel there. Okay. Lying means that you don't hear an angel, but you're telling people you do. That's what kind of what I mean. Like, do you think he was lying on purpose for a reason, or that he was crazy? Like he was hearing voices that weren't there.
I think either are just as likely. I mean, the
Uh,
amount of research that I've done into cults and religions around the world and throughout history would say that it's just as likely that he was going through a manic episode or a psychotic episode, or, you know, he was schizophrenic, or he was just hallucinating because he'd isolated himself for what, 23 or 28 days or something in the cave. Um, he's sleep deprived or malnutritioned or something. All of these things trigger hallucination. Or he could have just been a con man, like the thousands of others throughout history who make up some kind of religious claim and framework and can convince enough people to participate in it. And it could be either. It really doesn't matter. Yeah,
no,
as
I
some
mean, I
people are
think
saying in the comments as well, it could have been magic mushrooms or something. You know, psychedelic substances have been used by people for religious reasons for thousands of years, as far as we can tell. There's just no
cool.
good reason to believe that it's all legit.
So my question for you is: everything has a mo. If you got other guests, I can dip. I'm not trying to take your time.
That's cool.
But
You're welcome to
my
be here as
question,
long as you want, man.
cool. Last question. So my question, like, why would he do this? What is the purpose? What does he benefit? What's the reason? Because
Yeah,
I'm
for sure.
taking you think he lied about it. So why would he do that? What's his benefit?
No, no, I don't claim to know that he lied about it. Like I
Let's,
said, I think it's just as likely that he lied about it as it was that he really believed it, but was actually under a delusion. You know, I think the motivations are different depending on the case, right? Like if you're delusional and you think that God spoke to you, well, your motivation for going around telling people that God spoke to you is because, well, you probably really believe God wants you to do that. You know, it's like take the schizophrenic woman who said in court a couple of years ago that Jesus told her in a dream to drown her triplets, right? As far
okay,
as we can tell, she really believed that, right? So if
okay.
Muhammad is in the same boat and he really believed that Jibreel spoke to him in the cave after having isolated himself for weeks, according to the story, which we don't know
That's
is
not
true
how
or
that
not.
works. That's not how that works. But go
Again,
ahead.
ultimately that's irrelevant, man. The point is that if someone is under the delusion that a deity has spoken to them, they have just as much reason to believe that as anyone else does to believe
Yeah,
anything else that they believe, right? We believe what we
that's what.
believe, and it's not actually something we can choose. And if it's the case that Muhammad was just lying, well, his motivations were probably similar to the motivations of every other con man and cult leader throughout history, too. It's a really effective way of manipulating people. You gain
Okay.
control and power over the ignorant and the afraid and the hopeful all at the same time. If you can sell them a compelling enough narrative, especially if you're telling them things like they can have an afterlife if they do what you tell them. And
Cool. So
this is
my
not
question.
new, man. Like this is the same kind of framework that people have been using to get control over people for thousands of years. Like
Yeah, but you're
powerful
doing that.
leaders, big figures in history have openly stated in their own personal records that they used religions to manipulate people.
Cool. So you're not really answering my question. It's kind of like with the
It's
matter
literally
thing.
what you just asked me. What
No,
what was his motivation? Why would he do it?
yeah,
I just told you.
yeah. You said I asked you first if he was a crazy or a liar, and then you're like, I don't know if he was crazy or if he was a liar, but then you just gave reasons for both. Like it's either he's crazy or he's a
Yeah.
liar. If he
No.
really believed that, no, if he really believed that the angel came and spoke with him, that means he's crazy. If the angel wasn't there, you understand what I'm saying to you? That means he's doing these
Mhm.
things because he believes they're true. You
Yeah,
understand what I'm
I'm
saying to you?
agnostic. I'm agnostic. I'm not claiming to know that he definitely didn't have an angel speak to him. He might have. I don't think
Okay,
it's
cool.
likely. I think
So
it's way
somebody that
more likely that if he really was under the impression that an angel spoke to him, it's much more likely that he was hallucinating, right? I think it's
okay, very
way
good
more
point. Very good
likely,
point. Very
right?
good point.
But
So
I'm
here's
not, but
why I
again,
don't
I'm
think
an
that.
agnostic, man. I'm not claiming to know whether he was mad or lying or both. It could be either combination.
Cool. Here's the reason why I don't think this is true. Because most times when people lie about these things, it's for power, control, wealth, things of like that you want from this world. The Prophet Muhammad, he died very poor, even though he had control of Arabia. He died poor. Um, uh,
So
and the other thing, huh? What'd you say?
that doesn't mean anything.
If he wanted it for power and money, he'd have power and money. Like
Man,
he'd be
there
rich.
are people who start up cults and then their cults fall apart. That's
Yeah,
just
but
not
his
uncommon. Like that doesn't
Yeah,
mean
but
anything.
he had all of Arabia in control. Like Arabia had never been in control ever in history of ever, and he had the entire Arabia. He had cities under his control. Like he was powerful, but he still was poor.
Sure.
So why did he
Look,
do it?
honestly, when it comes to that, I don't even know if that's true. So I'm not going to take your
It is
word for it
true.
right off the bat. Yeah, look, it might
That
be.
is
I'm
true.
just saying, Chef, you just got to understand, man, that you're a random person on the internet. So I'm not just going to take your
Oh, I
word
got
for
you.
it, right? Like,
Oh, I got you.
yeah, that might be true. But what I'm saying is that I could say the same thing about Constantine, right? He used
Emperor Constantine.
Catholic. Yeah, I could say the same thing. He used Roman Catholicism to control not just Rome, but also the outlying tribes that he was conquering at the time. He got them all underneath the one ideology so he could manipulate all of their behavior more easily, right? It's the same thing.
Yeah,
Okay,
but
so
why?
what I'm saying,
Constantine wanted power. That's obvious. He wanted power. He's the emperor. Why did the prophet do it? That's my
man,
question to you.
like I just told you, probably for the same reason. Because
Yeah, but
people
he didn't. Okay.
like, I mean, there are psychopaths out there. There's still people out there doing it today, starting up cults because they like the feeling of being able to manipulate the gullible. It happens,
Okay.
man. There are horrible people out there who are looking for ignorant, gullible, hopeful, scared people that they can con into doing what they
Okay.
tell them to.
Very good point. Why? Like when you say tell them to do things, they're doing it for resources, right? Like if you're a human, you want resources. So the reason that they con the people, con
Sometimes.
means they trick them. Yeah, they trick them in order to get something that they wouldn't usually have got. The Prophet Muhammad, if assuming, let's say you don't believe this, assuming he died poor, what
Hmm.
would be the purpose? And by the way, when he first started preaching, they offered him money, they offered all this stuff to stop the preaching. He didn't. Like he suffered for 13 years. So like why? Like what's the point of that?
No, the same reason that a con man plays the long game is because there's a bigger prize to be won for
I got
sticking it
you.
out for longer, right? Like
Very good point.
none of this, and people could say the same thing about Jesus of Nazareth too, right? You could go, oh, if you believe that Jesus is real, well, he was persecuted, so like, why would he do it? Well, because people sometimes people don't believe the con man, and so they get
Yeah,
persecuted instead. It doesn't
yeah.
prove that someone was telling the truth.
No, but he got. Here's the thing I'm trying to explain to you. Like con man, he does it for a reason. He wants power. He wants manipulation. The Prophet Muhammad he conquered his enemies. He got his empire right, and he still died a poor person. Like
Yeah, cool.
his pawn was shielded to a Jewish man so that he could get barley to feed his family. And he had companions next to him that were rich. They were some of the richest people in Arabia, and he died poor. So if he wanted to con his people, he could have conned the people right next to him. So I just don't think that's like a real reason. Um,
Well, we don't even know if
like,
those stories are true. Those are just a particular take on history, for one. And even if it is true, it doesn't mean that he was like accurate or like right about God or angels talking to him or anything. It doesn't make any sense, man. I could use the
yeah,
same line of reasoning to try and convince someone to believe that David Koresh was actually the second coming of Christ, or that Jim Jones of the People's Temple actually had a direct line to God. I could use the same line of logic to try to defend any other cult leader throughout history and around the globe. It doesn't make
Yeah,
sense, man.
I got you, bro. I'm gonna let you go, man. I got other people, but yeah, I appreciate your time. I'll be back on uh another time. All right, see you,
Sure
man.
thing, man. I mean what I said before, I'm very grateful for your time, as I really do think it's all we've got. So thank you so much, man. Take
Got
care.
you. All right, I'll see you, man. See you.
Nice guy. We like Chef Clay. He was nice to talk to. I think that I really do wish that people would more quickly recognize that the evidence that they would not accept from somebody else can't be the same evidence that they're putting forward in support of their own claim. It's just bias at that point. It's just refusing to acknowledge one's own bias towards a belief system. Um, Chef Clay was lovely though. I really am grateful for his patience and his articulation, and it was lovely to talk to him. He's welcome back anytime. I do mean it. Everyone in here right now, thank you so much for your time. It's like 230 of you. Amazing. What are we at? 25K likes. Tap like crazy. Tap, 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 tap. Let's get as many likes as we can. Let's boost it. Let's get some more people in here. We've got some people in the queue right now. So let me have a look here. I can be on here for maybe another half hour, and then I got to take off. Um, but let's have another chat. Jackal Grinds, how we doing? Jackal, can you hear me?
Yep.
Hey,
Oh,
thank you so much for being here,
oh.
mate. I'm very grateful for your time. It's the most valuable thing I think you've got. So thanks for sharing. Which God do you
Yeah.
believe in?
Oh, sorry, I actually dozed off from the last conversation. You just woke me up. Hold on one second.
No stress, no
Hold
stress.
on one second. Oh,
Do you believe in a God?
actually, no, man. I'm just a curious individual.
Sure, okay. Well, look, if that's the case, maybe we'll keep it short. You're welcome to
Yeah,
have a
I
quick
only
chat,
joined.
but
Yeah, I just joined because the last guy was on here, and I was gonna conversate with all three of you because that would have been a little more fun, I think. But yeah, we're kind of similar. We just differ on ideas of like abiogenesis and stuff like that, me and you do, but as far as a deity, we're kind of on the same page.
sure. To be clear, I really don't think that abiogenesis is a flawless theory,
Right.
right? I just think that it's a
The
far,
most
far
plausible.
better, it's by
Yeah.
far the most plausible theory out of any of the theories that we've ever come up with. It just makes
Yeah.
the most sense. It's the one that we can get the closest to replicating, and we do a pretty damn good job of replicating those conditions,
Yeah,
to be
it's the most
fair, as best we
observable.
can.
Yeah, it's the most
So
observable evidence.
yeah, cool. Good to
Well, for sure,
clarify,
man. I will let you speak with some others. I didn't know if you were what kind of platform your stream was because I this is my first time on it, so I didn't know if you would have multiple guests where we could have all spoken about things. But yeah, since me and you're pretty similar, it would be kind of a boring chat.
Sure thing, Matt. Look, I appreciate that. To clarify to anyone in here, the reason that I don't really do multi-guest chats is because I think that they're a nightmare. I think that it
They
really
can be,
quickly,
yes.
I think that they more often than not devolve, especially if you're trying to do the kind of thing that I'm trying to do here, more often than not, they devolve into just chaos. And no one's actually learning anything, I don't think. I think it's just more of an expression session, and it ends up just being people taking out their own frustrations on each other in front of an audience, and I don't think it really actually does what I'm trying to do, at least. But
Right.
yeah,
Yeah, I
that's why I
totally
don't really
agree.
do
I've
that.
seen those lives. I've seen those
Yeah,
lives and I understand your reasoning. All right, my
cool,
brother.
man.
Well, you have a good day. Enjoy your life.
Likewise, man. I mean what I said. Thank you for your time. It's very valuable to me.
Absolutely. Same.
Legend. I got time for that. I really do appreciate that. Um, to clarify, if you do more or less agree with my position, I am happy to have you up here. I really am. I probably just won't have you up for long because I really do want to have more conversations with people who think that they've got some kind of evidence that I've never heard before, because I think that going through the evidence is the most effective way to get people thinking critically. So that's what I kind of want to focus my time on, you know. But again, thank you for your patience and sticking in the queue. You seem like a really nice guy. Um, and you're very welcome to stick around, please. You know, everyone is welcome here. No one gets muted or booted unless you're like very obviously wasted. Then I have to do something about it because then it's kind of just a waste of my time. But, you know, uh, yeah. Thank you so much for everyone tapping. Look at that. It's gone up like 5,000 likes in the last like 2 minutes since you all kind of just went bonkers on it. Thank you so much. Please just keep double tapping away as you listen. It really, really helps. That number up there is the number that the TikTok algorithm cares the most about. So if we can get that ticking over consistently, it's just going to send more and more people here. And that's what we need. We just need people listening, thinking, going away, reflecting, changing, evolving, growing. That's what we want, you know? So thank you so much to anyone participating. Let's have a look. Gory369. Let's have a look see.
Hello, namaskaram.
Hello, hello. Hey, thank you so much for your time. I'm very, very grateful for it. I think it's the most valuable thing any of us have got. Thanks for sharing. Do you believe in a
Thank you so
God?
much to you too, sir. Yes, sir, I do.
Which God is that?
I believe about 33 crores of gods, sir. I am from Hindu background and I worship a lot of them, sir.
Got you. Can you tell me
Yes, sir.
why you think there are so many gods?
Because we have a lot of evidence that indicate it is more scientifical than other religions, sir.
Can you
Recently, you
say
have
what evidence that is?
yes, sir. There are I will start from that Big Bang Theory. Okay, in Big Bang Theory, they are saying that a point has expanded into everything, isn't it, sir? And in our text, at first there was in our text also there was nothing, and Hiranyagarbha, which Hiranyagarbha means that a point that is of oval shape has exploded itself and become Shiva and Shakti. That Shiva and Shakti had manifested into everything in this universe, sir. One thing is that. Another thing is in parallel to the Charles Darwin theory, sir, it is also explained that in our as a story, it is explained that thus avatars means reincarnation of God. Okay, and in that thus avatars, first of them is Matsya. Matsya means one on water. First avatar has first life has created in water, and second is Kurma. Kurma means turtle. Turtle it means second avatar. Second life is has created itself to live in both land and water also. And third avatar is that Baraha. Baraha means that boar, which is mainly lives in that what to say, sir, land like that. It is also saying the same thing, sir. That's and others also, sir. Yes, sir.
Look, I think that the first thing that you said is not necessarily true, to be fair. We don't
Okay, sir.
know that there was nothing before this universe, right? It
Yes, sir.
might be the case that there was nothing before
Yes,
this
sir.
universe, but we don't really have good reason to believe that we know that there wasn't anything. It could very well be that there's an infinite number of other events that
Yes, sir.
occurred
I
before
agree.
this, you know, like we don't know that nothing occurred before this universe occurred. So I disagree with using that as evidence of. Are you
Okay,
referring to
sir.
the Veda? Are you referring to the Vedas or the Upanishads or the Bhagavad Gita?
I that Hiranyakashyap is from Vedas, sir, and
Gotcha.
that
Yeah. So
yes, sir,
I
and
don't think that that
reincarnation from Puran. Okay, sir.
got
I
you.
will give
So
another
I don't
evidence
think
of.
that that means that the Vedas are particularly accurate.
Okay,
However,
sir.
I can understand why you might see somewhat of a parallel there. But I don't think
Yes,
it
sir.
really matches up, especially if it's claiming that that is definitely true. I don't agree with that. It might be true, but we don't know that.
Now,
When you
okay,
say
sir.
that
Now, next
it
one will
says
blow your mind.
that life came
Okay,
from
sir.
water,
Yes,
um,
sir.
yeah, I think it's most likely that life or the simplest forms of life
Yes,
emerged
sir.
from the water. Yep, I agree with that. But again, that's not unique to Hinduism either. Like there are other religions that say that life came from the water as well. And these are
Yes,
religions
sir.
that also say that they're the only correct religion. So just
Yes, sir.
sharing, you know what I mean? So just sharing something in common with another religion, even if it's somewhat accurate, it doesn't mean that everything else in the religion is accurate too. I mean, there are also things in the Vedas and the Upanishads and the Bhagavad Gita that almost demonstrably false, right? I mean, there's a lot of stuff in there about medicine that we know is inaccurate.
Yes,
It's
sir.
just totally wrong, that we should use things like, you know, camel's urine for this illness over here and that, and we know that that's a terrible idea.
I think, sir,
So
you has
I don't.
misunderstood that cow's urine, cow urine,
Oh
sir,
yeah,
not camel
sorry, yeah,
urine.
whichever it
Yes, sir.
is. So I really don't think that it's a good idea to take these texts
Okay.
as being particularly uh, informative. I think that at the time that they were written, they were
Yes, sir.
potentially pretty impressive. But again, there were lots of texts written thousands of
Yes, sir.
years ago that seemed impressive to the people at the time, but that we now know are just not really very good at all. Uh,
Okay.
and again,
Yes, sir.
with
Okay,
a
you can
religion
note
like
this down.
Hinduism
Yes.
that
Yes,
claims
sir.
so many gods, we just don't have proof of any of these gods. So why should we believe that they're all real?
Sir, it is they in Hinduism, sir. They have given a 112 way of attaining or knowing the in the that energy of God and goddess, sir. It doesn't say you have to believe. It says try this and you will get what you want. 112 method. One of method is vipassana, that is followed by Gautam Buddha, and he got enlightened. And we have a lot of yogis here that are still in practice and have got a lot of knowledge, sir. One incident is that Tulsi Das has written one text called Hanuman Chalisa. In Hanuman Chalisa, sir, it is written that Juga Sahastra Jo Jan Par Bhanu Liyo Tai Madhur Phal Janu. It means the distance between Earth and Moon is 108 times of Moon diameter, and Earth and Sun is 108 times the distance of Earth diameter, sir.
And
If
when
you
was that
go and
written?
search,
When was that written?
5,000 year ago, sir. Tulsi Das, we have exact date with astrology, sir. If you get your computer and calculate when was that incident happened in astrological data, astrologically, you can exactly take that date, sir. It was written 5,000 year ago. You can search now, sir. If you have Google, I will tell you. You search, sir.
Hey, look, I'm going to look into that because I haven't heard that before.
Okay, sir.
I'm not going to. I'm not going to take your word for it on
Okay, sir.
face value, just because you are essentially, a random person on the internet to me. But if it is
Yes,
true,
exactly, sir.
right?
Yes,
But
sir.
if it is true that 5,000 years ago, somebody
Yes,
was
sir.
able to reveal to us incredibly accurate measurements regarding the distance from the Earth of, the moon and
Yes,
the
sir.
sun and exactly what its diameter was and ratios and all that kind of thing, then
Yes,
that's
sir.
pretty impressive. I'm not going to jump to the
Even,
conclusion that the
even
only
crazier
way to
things is
well,
that.
hold on, hold
Yes.
on. I'm
Okay, okay,
I'm
sir. Sorry,
I'm
sir.
not going to jump to the conclusion that the only
Yes,
way
sir.
that knowledge could have been arrived at was because some deity told them. But I've definitely looked into it. That's pretty impressive. At the very least, there's some
Yes,
there's
sir.
some interesting mathematics going on there.
You must have heard about Ramanujan also, sir. One of Indian Hindu men, Ramanujan, who is a excellent person in math, and he gave that theory calculation of that what is black hole before this was written found, sir.
I am aware that the Vedics had some pretty advanced mathematical understanding for their time. Like I've looked
Yes,
into
sir.
a little bit of it, and
Yes, sir.
it's pretty amazing. Like a lot of it is really amazing. I don't think that having access to uh, knowledge that is, impressive to most people necessarily means that God exists, though. I don't think that that's what that means at all. I mean, the truth is just that some people are smarter than other people, you know, and that doesn't
No, sir.
mean
No,
that
sir.
God exists. You know, like
Actually,
I might understand mathematics and linguistics and the natural sciences better than
yes, sir.
maybe, you know, your average 12-year-old, right? But
No, sir.
that
I agree.
doesn't mean that God is real. The truth is
Yes,
that
sir.
some people are just smarter than others. And
Yes, sir. But it
if
is.
I go around telling people that aren't as smart as me that because I'm smarter than you should trust everything that I say, and if they go, "Oh, yes, that's a good idea. That's fair enough," then I could get away with manipulating them into believing all kinds of things that aren't necessarily true, right? If we just
Yes, sir.
believe people who are impressive in some way, you know, maybe they know better math than us, or they can run faster than us, or they're stronger than us, or they're more beautiful or richer than us, or something.
Yes,
If we
sir.
just believe everything that someone
Yes, sir.
who is better than us tells us is true, then we're giving them a lot of power to manipulate us. And I don't think that's a
Yes,
good
sir.
idea.
But but in practice, sir, it is also in practice that we can get connected with that divine energy and still get that knowledge from them, not from any other person, sir. We have a lot of ways of yoga through which we can connect with them. And another thing is,
Well,
sir, yes, sir,
this is
before.
an important point. This is an important point.
Yes, yes,
We
sir.
don't know that that's true. It might be the case that someone claims that they've connected with a divine source, and that's where they got this impressive information from. But we can't prove that that's true, right? I spoke about this on my last live stream, and it's a really good way to demonstrate the point, right? A few hundred years ago, when Christopher Columbus was colonizing what we now know as America, he reached a point where he'd run out of food, right? He and his crew
Yes, sir.
were in dire straits. They were in need of supplies. They approached the indigenous people of the Americas and said, "Hey, can we
Yes, sir.
please have some food? We're desperate. We really need food. Can you help us out?" And they initially
Yes, sir.
said, "No, I'm sorry, but we're taking care of our own. We don't know you. We can't trust you. You're going to have to find some other way." Columbus then said to them, "If you don't, my God will block out the sun. He's going to kill the sun. Sorry,
Yes,
not the
sir.
sun. The moon, rather. He's going to kill the moon. Uh,
Okay.
and that will be your first warning. If you then don't
Yes,
heed our warning, then he's going to kill all of you." And the indigenous people said, "Oh, look, we don't believe you. You're not having our things. Go on your way." So they left. And then that night, there was, well, I won't say that just yet. The moon was blocked out, right?
yes, sir.
The indigenous people started freaking out. They said, "Oh, it's true. Their God has the power to kill the moon. Okay, we're sorry, we're sorry, we're sorry. Here, take the food, take what you need. Just leave us and leave our people alone. Please don't hurt us."
Yes, sir.
And then Columbus went, "Okay, all right." And then the moon came back.
Yes,
Okay?
sir.
This is not a case of someone actually having the ability to
Supernatural
contact the
power.
divine.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, this
Yes,
is
sir.
just the case of somebody knowing how to predict lunar eclipses and
Yes, sir.
somebody else not knowing how to predict lunar eclipses. And the person
Yes,
who
sir.
does know, they can manipulate the person who doesn't know, right?
Yes, sir.
This is the same way that magic tricks work. The magician knows how the trick works. The audience
Yes, sir.
doesn't know. Hey, thank you so much, Will. I really appreciate that, man. The audience doesn't know how the trick works, but they're being manipulated into believing something that isn't necessarily true is true. And it gives the magician power over the audience. In the same way that
Yes, sir.
Columbus manipulated the indigenous and took power over them, if you trust a yogi who tells
Yes,
you
sir.
that God told them this or that or whatever else,
They will never
you're
told
just
that,
giving
sir.
this, there's no way that they can prove to you that this is true. There are all sorts of different ways that you can trick someone into thinking that you have supernatural powers or you're communicating with the divine. I mean, even I've done it. Even I've done it to
Yes, sir.
people to demonstrate how the tricks work, right? So I don't think that's
Yes,
particularly
sir.
good evidence at this point.
I think you can experience something in yoga, sir. Just try meditation and something else, sir.
I
I
have,
swear
yeah.
that you will never get
I've
to
done Vipassana.
you
I've done
Vipassana.
Vipassana as
Have you
well.
done? Have you done, sir?
Yes. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
I am also a practitioner of Vipassana, sir,
That's
and
great.
also
It's very
Sambhavi
relaxing.
Mahamudra. Yes, sir.
Yeah, yeah. No, I
Yes,
think
sir.
it's really good. I think that honestly, I think everyone should try a bit of a Vipassana meditation. You know, I
Yes,
think
sir.
it's really, really helpful. I don't think that it gives you access to the divine. I don't think that it allows you to communicate with gods. I think that it's a powerful method of meditation which allows one to learn to calm themselves and connect with their thoughts and feelings much better. But I don't
Yes,
think that
sir.
there's anything magical or supernatural or divine going on.
Yes, sir. And it is also explained that vipassana is not for to get in his to get contact with God, sir. Vipassana and Sambhavi Mahamudra is not for that, sir. And Samadhi is also not for one who is seeking to get contact with God. If you really want to get something, sir, you can practice shamanism of Hindus, not actually shamanism of
Gotcha.
other countries, sir. But the shamanism from that Hindu text, Vedic text, 102 bells method among them. Okay.
Yeah, look, I think that shamanism is not a particularly good way to discern the truth either. Given that most shamanistic rituals or, initiations
Schizophrenic. Yes,
also
sir.
also call for the use of hallucinogenic drugs
Yes, sir.
and the triggering
Mental disorders.
of hallucinatory states by ways of other means as well. I just don't think that going through some kind of shamanic ritual is actually that good of a way to discern truth about reality. I think it's a
Yes, sir.
good way to trigger hallucination
Yes,
and
sir.
mental illness, but I don't think it's a good way to find out what's true or accurate about the world.
Okay, okay, that's your point. Okay, uh,
Yeah.
even you can search for search for that Vasishtha Rishi text in Hinduism that explain about astrology. In astrology, it has mentioned that before this modern science has explained about it is about 6,000 year old, and in that text it is written about all thing about 9 planets, sir. All thing about 9 planets. You can
Sure.
get that at yes, sir. You can get.
It's also
Uh,
the truth is also that it's not the only religion that does that either. There are religions that say that the earth is really old and that there are, you know, roughly 9 or 8 or 10 planets, you know. So it's not the only religion that's like that either.
okay.
So again, and if these religions are all claiming to be uniquely true and that the other ones are
Yes,
false,
sir.
um, and they share some claims, but they also have competing claims, then really the best method to go by when it comes to determining which one is true is to use none of the religions at all, but to use scientific inquiry instead, to actually
Yes,
compare
sir.
all of them together and then contrast them against reality. So, given that that's the best method anyway, why should we adhere to a religion when we know science does a better job of actually telling us what's true and accurate and likely about reality anyway?
Okay, well, that was a good point, sir. I am
Yeah.
speechless in that. Yes, sir. I agree. Uh,
I've got to
okay,
say, man,
that was
like I studied
yes,
Hinduism a little bit a while ago, and
yes,
there are
sir.
many aspects of Hinduism I really like, to be honest.
Yes,
For
sir.
one, uh, the doctrine of Brahma, right, and non-duality, right? I think it's
Yes,
beautiful.
sir.
I think it's such a good. I think it's of all the religions that I've ever studied, I think it's one of the more beautiful concepts. I don't think we can prove
Okay.
it. I don't think it's
Yes,
definitively
sir.
true or anything like this. But I really like some aspects of Hinduism. I don't think that we should believe that Hinduism is entirely accurate or correct or the one true religion or anything, though. I don't think people should be worshipping gods. I really don't. I don't think people should believe in reincarnation. I don't think there's any
Yes, sir.
particularly good evidence of it.
Uh, y-
But I appreciate where you're coming from, you know.
yes, sir. I'm from Nepal.
From Nepal, amazing. I don't think I've had
Yes, sir.
anyone on here from Nepal before. Thank you so much for spending some of your time with us, man. This is a real treat. Have you
Thank
been
you,
on
sir. I
anybody
appreciate
else's
it.
live stream before?
Not much, sir. One or two.
Wow, I feel quite honored, you know.
Yes, sir.
Actually, you know what? I don't know that I've ever spoken to a Nepalese person in my life. This is very cool to me. How do you say how do you say it's lovely to meet you in Nepalese?
In Nepalese,
Yeah.
तपाईँलाई भेटेर मलाई राम्रो लाग्यो. तपाईँलाई भेटेर मलाई राम्रो लाग्यो.
Oh my God.
खु-
I was gonna I was gonna try I was gonna try to and say that, but there's no way I'm gonna be able to get that.
Okay, take this short one. Okay, sir. खुसी लाग्यो.
Okay,
खुसी
excuse
लाग्यो.
me.
खुसी लाग्यो.
Chrissy
खु
Lager?
खु खु
Ku
खुसी
or Kusi
लाग्यो.
Lagyo?
हजुर.
Kusi
Yes,
Lagyo.
sir. Yes, sir.
Kus
It means
Kusi Lagyo.
I feel good. I feel
I
good.
f
It means
oh
I
man,
feel good. Okay.
I feel really
खुसी
good
लाग्यो.
about you giving me a much easier version. Kusi Lagyo. Kusi Lagyo.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Hey, thank you so much. How do you say thank you in Nepalese?
धन्यवाद. धन्यवाद.
Thunder Thundervad?
धन धन
Tan.
धन्यवाद.
Danyawad. Danyawad.
Yes, sir. Exactly, sir. That one.
Gauri,
Okay. Yes, sir.
Danyawad. Danyavad so
I,
much. I'm incredibly grateful for your time, man. Thank you so much. Danyavad.
yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm thankful to you too, sir. And at last, I would try to recommend our viewer that if you really want to learn something about Hinduism, you can contact in Nepal or you can follow Sadhguru also. He is one of the yogi that has attained something in this Hinduism field, that he will give you a lot of sadhanas that makes you knowledgeable in Hinduism, sir.
Got you.
Sadguru,
Danyavad.
Sadguru, yes,
Oh,
sir.
Sadhguru. Yeah, no,
Sadguru,
I
yes,
quite
sir.
like Sadhguru. One of my favorite books that I've read in the last couple of years was Karma by Sadhguru.
Karma,
Really,
that was,
really good book.
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Really good
That
book. I
that is the
really,
that is the that is beautiful aspect of our dharma, that one who goes to the heaven or hell is not determined by one who, after worshipping one god or not. It is said that one who attain heaven is the one who is doing good karma, like as helping other and everything else, and one who have done bad karma, like giving sadness to others, that they go to hell, and one who is doing good, they going to heaven, not by worshipping in Hinduism. That is beautiful aspect, sir.
look, I really appreciate where you're coming from. You know, I think that it's really worth for anyone in here who is interested in looking into religions other than, hey, thank you so much, other than the one that they currently believe, or maybe they don't believe any. I really do think that Hinduism is worth learning about. You know, there are some really interesting things in there. Again, I'm not a Hindu. I don't believe all of Hinduism, but there's some beautiful ideas. And thank you for bringing up Sadhguru. I don't agree with everything Sadhguru says, but he
Yes,
says
sir.
he's got some really good ideas that I think people should consider.
Yes, sir.
Oh, I'm so Tanyavad, is that the word? Tanyavad?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Dhanyavad.
Gauri, Tanyavad.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. Please be well.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much to you too, and all who have gifted me. Thank you to you too, sir.
Very kind, very kind. It's a lovely place to be. This community is really nice. Hey, thank you, Voided. I appreciate that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay.
Hopefully, I'll see you another time.
Yes, sir. Namaskaram.
Namaskaram.
Namaskaram means okay. Bye. We are
Got
leaving.
you. Tanyavad. Namaskaram.
Okay. Namaskaram. Thank you, sir.
That was awesome. What a lovely guy. I I really do love that we just got to talk to someone like that. Um, I've never spoken to a Nepalese person. This is very cool. The gifts that TikTok continues to rain down upon me. We love this. I am very grateful for that guy's time. Look, Gauri has just made me think of a story that I really do want to read before I cut the end of the stream. Let me just get this up. Here we go. All right. I'm going to read a short story which more or less sums up, it's not exactly what Hinduism teaches, but it more or less sums up the aspects of Hinduism with a twist that I think are most worth considering. It's called. I think I've read it. I've read it once before on this live stream, but it was before I started uploading to YouTube, and so I think that. Hey, thank you so much, man. I appreciate that. I think that now that I've started uploading to YouTube, I would love this to be up there for posterity. For anyone who is interested, also in the YouTube channel, which is basically just these live streams, but just unedited, uploaded onto a YouTube channel so that people can go back and catch up on them if they didn't get to catch one of them. Excuse me. Especially for subscribers, because I know that like I live in Australia, so the time that I stream, it doesn't really line up with the most convenient time for many of my subscribers to watch. So please, if you go to my bio and then follow the link like in the little Instagram icon, it should come up with a YouTube link as well. I'm going to read a story. If I can find it. My goodness, why is it so hard to find this time? It normally pops right up. Hold on, bear with me. This one is called. Oh my goodness. Hang on. Okay, here we go. This one is called The Egg by Andy Weir. And it's only going to take me like 5 minutes to read it. But please do stick around because if you haven't heard it before, I really do think that it's worth hearing. Let me see if it's coming up now. All right, here we go. We're on. All right. To clarify, my YouTube can be found through the link in my bio on my TikTok. Hey, thank you so much, man. I really do appreciate that. This is The Egg by Andy Weir. And as I said, it's not exactly what Hinduism teaches, but it does take some of my favorite aspects and puts a bit of a twist on it. It's written by the guy who wrote The Martian. You might have seen the movie The Martian. So it's written by the same guy who wrote that novel. Here it is. This is The Egg by Andy Weir. You were on your way home when you died. It was a car accident. There's nothing particularly remarkable, but fatal nonetheless. You left behind a wife and 2 children. It was a painless death. The EMTs tried their best to save you, but to no avail. Your body was so utterly shattered, you were better off. Trust me. And that's when you met me. What happened? You asked. Where am I? You died, I said, matter-of-factly. No point in mincing words. There was a truck, and it was skidding. Yep, I replied. I I died? Yep, but don't feel bad about it. Everyone dies, I said. You looked around, and there was nothingness. Just you and me, What is this place? You asked. Is this the afterlife? More or less, I said. Are you God? You asked. Yep, I replied. I'm God. My kids, my wife, you said. What about them? Will they be all right? That's what I like to see, I said. You just died, and your main concern is for your family. That's good stuff right there. You looked at me with fascination. To you, I didn't look like God. I just looked like some man, or possibly a woman, some vague authority figure, maybe. More of a grammar school teacher than the Almighty. Don't worry, I said. They'll be fine. Your kids will remember you as perfect in every way. They didn't have time to grow contempt for you. Your wife will cry on the outside, but will be secretly relieved. To be fair, your marriage was falling apart. If it's any consolation, she'll feel very guilty for feeling relieved. Oh, you said. So what happens now? Do I go to heaven or hell or something? Neither, I said. You'll be reincarnated. Ah, you said. So the Hindus were right. All religions are right in their own way, I said. Walk with me. You followed along as we strode through the void. Where are we going? Nowhere in particular, I said. It's just nice to walk while we talk. So what's the point then? You asked. When I get reborn, I'll just be a blank slate, right? A baby. So all my experiences and everything I did in this life won't matter. Not so, I said. You have within you all the knowledge and experience of all your past lives. You just don't remember them right now. I stopped walking and I took you by the shoulders. Your soul is more magnificent, beautiful, and gigantic than you can possibly imagine. A human mind can only contain a tiny fraction of what you are. It's like sticking your finger in a glass of water to see if it's hot or cold. You put a tiny part of yourself into the vessel, and when you bring it back out, you've gained all the experiences that it had. You've been in a human for the last 48 years, so you haven't stretched out yet and felt the rest of your immense consciousness. If we hung out here for long enough, you'd start remembering everything. But there's no point to doing that between each life. How many times have I been reincarnated then? Oh, lots, lots and lots. And into lots of different lives, I said. This time around, you'll be a Chinese peasant girl in 540 AD. Wait, what? You stammered. You're sending me back in time? Well, I guess technically. Time as you know it only exists in your universe. Things are different where I come from. Where you come from? You said. Oh, sure, I explained. I come from somewhere else. And there are others like me. I know you'll want to know what it's like there, but honestly, you wouldn't understand. Oh, you said, a little let down. But wait, if I get reincarnated to other places in time, I could have interacted with myself at some point. Sure, happens all the time. And with both lives only aware of their own lifespan, you don't even know it's happening. So, what's the point of it all? Seriously? I asked. Seriously. You're asking me for the meaning of life. Isn't that a little stereotypical? Well, it's a reasonable question, you persisted. I looked you in the eye. The meaning of life, the reason I made this whole universe, is for you to mature. You mean mankind? Like you want us to mature? No, just you. I made this whole universe for you. With each new life, you grow and mature and become a larger and greater intellect. Just me? What about everyone else? There is no one else, I said. In this universe, there's just you and me. You stared blankly at me. But all the people on Earth? All you. Different incarnations of you. Wait, I'm everyone? Now you're getting it, I said, with a congratulatory slap on the back. I'm every human being who ever lived. Or who will ever live, yes. I'm Abraham Lincoln. Well, and you're John Wilkes Booth too, I added. I'm Hitler, you said, appalled. And you're the millions that he killed. I'm Jesus? And you're everyone who followed him. You fell silent. Every time that you victimized someone, I said, you were victimizing yourself. Every act of kindness you've done to yourself. Every happy and sad moment ever experienced by any human was or will be experienced by you. You thought for a long time. Why? You asked me. Why do all this? Because someday you will become like me. Because that's what you are. You're one of my kind. You're my child. Whoa, you said, incredulous. You mean I'm a god? No, not yet. You're a fetus. You're still growing. Once you've lived every human life throughout all time, you will have grown enough to be born. So the whole universe, you said, it's just an egg, I answered. Now it's time for you to move on to your next life. And I sent you on your way. And that is The Egg by Andy Weir. And I think that that is a terrific story to end the stream on. I'm very grateful. I really am. I'm incredibly grateful for the time that all of you spend with me. As I repeat over and over, I really do think that it's the most valuable thing that anyone has ever or will ever have. You know, I don't think there's going to be an afterlife after this one. I think you're probably just going to fall back into a dreamless sleep, like the one that you came out of before you were born. You know, and I think that given that I see that to be the most likely case, your time is incredibly valuable. So thank you so much for sharing some of it. I really, really do mean it. Thank you for so many likes. Thank you for so many people being still in here. To everyone who's subscribed or gifted today, thank you so much. I'm trying to save up all of this money to put it towards a bit of a better streaming rig. You know, I want to start actually editing some content together for my YouTube channel too, doing some more kind of reaction video style content. So any financial support whatsoever, you know, it means a lot. Like I'm really trying to, I don't want to spend it on anything else. I just want to spend it on this live stream community. I just want to put it back into here, you know, because I really needed someone doing what I'm trying to do here when I was younger. So I feel like it's really, really worth it to me, at least, to try and make that happen. So thank you so much for helping me do it. It's crazy to me that there's so many people in here right now. What are we at right now? We're at 9,086 followers. That's just crazy to me. You know, I can hardly believe that. It's very humbling. It really is very humbling to be within like 1,000 followers of having 10,000 people around the globe feel as though the content that I put out there on these live streams is worth following, it's a lot, you know. I'm really grateful for it. I'm going to call it. I'm going to go to bed. I really do hope that the rest of you will enjoy the rest of your day, your night, your week, your month, your year, your decade, your century, your millennia, however long it is that you're with us for in the end. I hope that you just squeeze every last drop out of it. I hope you soak it up. I'm incredibly grateful for you spending some of it with me, especially those of you who are here so frequently and so often. It really is very humbling. I'll give you the 10-second countdown to see how many likes we can get in that 10 seconds. It's always an interesting challenge. I think our record is 3,000, which is crazy. I'll tell you when to start. Hey, thank you so much, Chelsea. I really do appreciate it. It's a lot. It's a lot. I'll give you the 10-second countdown. So anyone who wants to follow can catch us next time. Just a quick reminder, I've got a YouTube channel too where I upload everything unedited for people to catch up on or to just watch again if they're interested. I'm going to start the 10-second countdown. What are we at? We're at 51.3. All right, let's go. 10, 9. Just tap like crazy. See what we can get. 8, 7, 6. Ooh, look at that. That is bonkers. 5, 4, 3. Hey, yo, 2, 1, 0. Is that a new record? Or is that 3? There you go. That's like 3. Look at it go. That's insane. What is going on here? I reckon we're going to hit like 60K if I just sit here for another kind of 10 seconds. We're probably going to hit 60K. Actually, just out of interest, let's do another 10 because the rate at which that's going, I've never seen it go that fast before on this live. 10, 9, 8, 7. I'm counting quick too. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Called it. That's insane. You people are bonkers. You're welcome here. I'll tell you that much. Big love. I'll see you next time.